What is C in the triangle? C has to be the hypotenuse. A and B, it doesn't matter. Okay, but C has to be the hypotenuse. So if we are on this triangle right here, A, what side is the hypotenuse? X, right? This is the hypotenuse. So then you can just call the other sides A and B. You could have flipped them if you wanted. It makes no difference. But the longest side has to be the hypotenuse, has to be C. Okay, so this is C. So then you plug everything into the formula, right? Formula is A squared plus B squared is C squared. A is 3.7 squared. B is 2.5 squared equals C squared. All right, peoples, what's 3.7 squared on your calculators? So 2 decimal places. What is that? Okay. 3.7 is 13.69. 2.5 is 6.25. Right? Add those together, you'll get 19.91 or thereabouts. That equals C squared. Am I solving for C squared? No. You're solving for X or C, right? I don't want C squared or X squared. I want C. So how do I get C if I have C squared? You square root both sides. So what's the square root of 19.91? Let's just round it to 4.5. So this length is 4.5. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. You can use Pythagorean theorem if they're asking for a side and you know two sides. All right? We know two sides and they want to know the other side. You can use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? If they then you'd have to solve B. Right? Like they give you 4.5, they didn't give you. Yeah, you just manipulate it. Yeah. Okay. Next page, please. What if they only give you one side and an angle? So ignore all this stuff because they just make it overly complex. All right. If they give you a side and an angle, all right, and they're asking for another side, you have to use trig. Okay? So what's the first thing you'd have to do when you're going to use trigonometry? Label the triangle. It's the very first thing. Now, what angle have they given us? You cannot use the right angle. 52. So if you're here, where is the opposite side? So there's your opposite. What is 14.2? That's the hypotenuse. And just for completeness, that would be the adjacent. Okay. Then you ask yourself, what am I trying to find and what piece of information am I given? Yep. Yes. And the angle, right? So if, no, you're close. Okay, so, shh, Tyler. If you are trying to find the opposite and you're given the hypotenuse, you go to your trig functions. Which one involves opposite and hypotenuse? Sine, right? So that's the trig function you have to use. So then you go, okay, sine, guys, sine Now, what always goes in the trig function? Angle or side? Angle, right? Because see how they have degrees here? Angle always goes with the trig function. What angle do we know? 52. So it's sine, oh my gosh, sine of 52 equals, now what does sine equal? Opposite over hypotenuse. What's my opposite? X. So you just put X in. What's my hypotenuse? 14.2. That's your equation that you're going to solve. Now, this you can put in your calculator. What does sine of 52 equal? 0.78? So 0.79? Okay, 0.79 equals x over 14.2. Because sine of 52 is the same as 0.79. Is everybody with me so far? Okay, now it's algebra. So if I have a question that looked like this, 2 is equal to x over 4. How do you solve for x here? Yeah, so you need to get rid of this 4. You want to get x by itself, right? So essentially what you do is you multiply both sides by 4, because this 4 and that 4 will disappear. And then you get 4 times 2, so you get 8 is equal to x. The shortcut, just multiply that up to there. Okay? So the shortcut is, on this one, multiply the 14.2 up. So you get 14.2 times 0.79 is equal to x. I don't know what that is. You're going to have to tell me what that is. 11.2? What? How many? We'll just do 11.2. 11.2 is equal to x. Is that okay? Yes. Because we know we're trying to find the opposite side, and we know the hypotenuse. So we can't use tan because it involves opposite and adjacent, and I don't know what the adjacent is. It's blank. That makes sense? Okay. All right, we're gonna do this again. So, okay, we'll do this word problem. Everybody likes word problems. So they're making jerky. A piece of wood, 2.8 meters long. It could be used to build a drying rack. It rests against a wall. The angle between the piece of wood and the ground is 40 degrees. Okay, we're in the trig unit. What shapes do we deal with in the trig unit? Triangle. We're trying to make a triangle here. So we have a piece of wood that is 28 meters long, leaning against a wall. Here's my wall. Piece of wood that is 2.8 meters long. And there's the ground. Oh, look at that. We got a triangle. And the angle between the piece of wood and the ground is 40. So that's 40 degrees. Sorry? Because which side is opposite? It's the hypotenuse, right? But the hypotenuse is always the hypotenuse. So there's other reasons, but you learn those in grade 12. So what are we trying to find here? Determine the distance from the bottom of the piece of wood to the wall. I want to know this distance. Call that x. Okay. So we have our triangle, right? It has an angle, it has a side, and it has a side that we're trying to find. What's the first thing we need to do on the triangle? Label it. So, where is the hypotenuse? 2.8. There's the hypotenuse. Where is what's x? What side? Adjacent. Okay. We could label this opposite if we wanted. It doesn't matter because it has no information, so we're not trying to find it. Okay, we know the hypotenuse, and we're trying to find the adjacent. What trig function are we using? We have the hypotenuse, and we're trying to find the adjacent. Cosine, right? So you just go to the trig function that has those two sides involved. So we're doing cosine. Where does the angle go? Right in with the cosine. So cos of 40 is equal to what over what? X over 2.8. Now, you have to change the cos 40 to a decimal. So you gotta do it in your calculator. Cos of 40 is 0.766. What now? Multiply it up. What is it? 2.1? Thank you. I guess this is in meters. So it's 2.1 meters away from the wall. So when you're given a triangle, what's your first step? Let's write this down. I'm going to write them. We're not going to do this question. So, step number 1, label the triangle. Label triangle from the angle given, or the angle, yeah, in this case, from the angle given. The angle given. Okay. Step 2. Then what? What do we? We're not there yet. That's the next step of the problem. And all these ones you'll be given the angle. So then we had to figure out what trig function, right? Based on the sides that you know we're trying to find. So determine trig function. And then the third one was what? What did we do after we had the trig function, we wrote our equation, then what did we do? So you converted the trig function to a decimal, right? So I'll say use calculator to determine decimal. And then final one, what did we do? Multiply by the whatever. Multiply to find answer. There you go. Okay. What question? I think we should do question number 1 and pick 4. Number 1, pick 4 to do. If you want more practice, do them all. If you want more practice, you can do 2 to 4, those numbers. We still have to finish this lesson, so I'm going to cut you off at 10 after. Okay? So you got 23 minutes to do 4 questions. Maybe I'll cut you off earlier. 5 after, I'm cutting you off. Okay? There we go. So the opposite is the top. Top. Where's the adjacent? 7.9. And so what's A? Hypotenuse. Okay. They give us the adjacent, and we want to find the hypotenuse. What trig angle involves adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. So we write out cosine of what always goes with the trig function? The degrees, the angle. So cosine of 64. I don't want my people. Go away, peoples. There we go. Equals the adjacent, which is 7.9, over the hypotenuse, which they're calling A. Okay? Everybody good so far? Okay, what's the stack? What do we do next? Yeah, the cos 64, we're going to convert that to a decimal. What is that? 0.44? All right, 0.44 equals 7.9 over A. Okay, this looks different than the ones we were solving before. The ones we were solving before looked like this. Some decimal. This over some number, right? And we would multiply that number up to get x by itself. Now, when it looks like this, what we're going to do, so I'll tell you the proper math way, and then how about I just finish this question and then we help you, okay? Before we would, so I want to get A by itself. So you're going to multiply the A up. Now I'm going to show you the long way, and then I'll show you the shortcut, okay? So then you're going to get A times 0.44 equals 7.9. And then how do you get rid of the 0.44? You would divide it off. You would divide both sides by that to get, oh my gosh, what am I writing here? Anyways, you would divide both sides by 0.44. And those would cancel and you get this. Here is a shortcut. When your equation looks like this, just switch the A and the 0.44. Okay? And that gets you right to there. I don't like saying that, but and that gets you to there. And so then to solve for A, you just divide 7.9 by 0.44, which is what? 18 point, oh, 17.94, 54, 9. Let's just round to 18. Okay, we're going to do this again. All right. Everything is the same up until the little algebra part. Okay. It didn't come out as 0.44? Okay, hang on. It actually is because I have it in my notes. So it might be something on your calculator. I'll check it in a sec. Okay, next question. Here we go. I'm just going to give you the triangle here, people. I'm not going to make you draw it. All right. This is our triangle. P, Q, R. This is 62. This is X. And that's 15.6. Ignore all this. All right, there's our triangle. Okay, so what's the first step? Label based off of 62, right? So what is X? What's 15.6? And then just for completeness, that would be opposite, but we don't care. All right. So we have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. What trig function are we using? Cosine. So cosine of 62 degrees is equal to the adjacent, which is 15.6, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Next step. So what is that? Decimal, what is it? We'll just use the 3. 0.469 0.6 over x. So we get to that point. How do you solve for x? Yeah. So you rewrite it as x is equal to 15.6 over 0.469. I don't know what that is. 30. All right. 33 point, let's just say 2. All right, one more, and then we are done. Are we ready? For this last one here? Oh, like what we did at first? Oh, I see what you're saying. So if they give you some info, how do you find the other angle, or how do you find an angle? Okay, that is tomorrow's lesson. That's good. That's a good lead in. All right. 71. Here's our triangle. They want us to find the lengths of AB. So they want us to find this length, which we'll call X. And they want us to find AC, this length, which we'll call Y. Okay? They want us to find both those lengths. Which one do you want to solve first? X? Might as well do X. Alphabetically correct. Okay, so let's find X. Okay, so from what's our steps here? What's the first step? Label the triangle. What is side X? Opposite. What is side Y? And what is 147? Okay. If we're solving for X, it's opposite, and we know the adjacent. So we are using 10. That makes sense? So we're using 10. So we go tan of 71 is equal to the opposite, which is x over the adjacent 147. Now this is regular. So tan of 71. What's tan of 71? 2.9. Oh, the Valentine's Club. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, 2.9 is equal to x over 147. How do I solve for x? 2.9 times 147, which tells me that x is 426.3. Okay, meters equals that. There we go. Okay, now we found x. Congratulations. Now we're gonna find y. You can do the Pythagorean theorem. You have choices now, right? Because we know that x, we know this side is 426.3. So we have two sides. We can do the Pythagorean theorem, or we could do trig again. I like trig, but you can do Pythagorean theorem. Why doesn't somebody do Pythagorean theorem? Why don't you do Pythagorean theorem? We'll do trig, and we'll see if we get the same answer. We should get the same answer. The easier one. Okay, so if we're finding y, is the hypotenuse, and we know the adjacent. So what trig function am I going to use? Hypotenuse and adjacent. Hypotenuse and adjacent. Cosine is equal to the hypotenuse, which we're calling y, over the adjacent, which is that. Cosine of 71 to cosine of 71. It'll be different than the tan of 71. Three, two, five. How do I solve this? Peoples? How do you solve it? That's how Einstein spoke. Do the thing. The times thing. Okay. Multiply 147 by 0.325 and you should get 451.5, I think we get. Hang on. You know what I did? Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. That's on the video, by the way. I just said that. What mistake did I make? Nobody even told me. Yes, 147 should be up top. It's adjacent over hypotenuse. Baldwin's a clown and screwed up. Does everybody see that? I gotta erase here. Sorry, peoples. I was not paying attention. All right. Okay, cosine is adjacent. My adjacent is 147. My hypotenuse is y. Now it should work. 0.325. And what do I do here? Yes. You switch them. And you get 451.5 meters. If you got 450.3 or you got something slightly different, it's still right. It depends where you round your decimals. So if you're close, if you have 450 plus or minus 2, you're going to get it right. Okay? You'll get full marks. Any questions? Label the triangle. Figure out your trig function. Convert the trig function angle to a decimal. Then do your algebra to solve for your unknown. Okay? Every single time. So here's what you're doing. I'm giving you lots tonight. Number 5, pick 3. You can do all of number 5 if you want lots of practice. Number 6, pick 1. Again, you can do all of number 6 if you want more practice. Number 7. Don't want you to do number 7. I do want you to do number 7. Pick 2 off of number 7. Again, if you want more practice, do them all. Okay?